Another episode of Mostly Peaceful Latinas. I'm your host, Bella.
And I'm Linda. And today we have a very special show for you guys. Sadly, I couldn't let my Instagram followers know because Instagram is down again and it kicked me out of the app, and it's apparently like a worldwide outage or something like that. So we'll do what we can.
We'll do what we can.
Yeah, we'll do what we can.
We'll give people some time to get on. But in the meantime, thank you guys so much for being here with us. We've got some interesting topics to discuss today. OnlyFans girl finds Jesus. The internet does not believe in redemption.
Oh, yeah.
Shocking.
The same people that...
What else do we have? We have Planet Fitness. Stocks plummet as they allow
troons. We have to say the word troon.
They allow... I'm sure they'll block that eventually. They allow a transgender female to change in the women's locker room with a young woman.
Yeah.
Nickelodeon's been exposed. Something that a lot of us conspiracy theorists knew for quite some time, but a new documentary has now showcased the story of Dan Schneider and the rest of the pervs over on Nickelodeon. And shocking to no one that listens to our show and what we call our MPL wisdom, Ron DeSantis gets absolutely plummeted at the polls in Florida. Yay for Trump.
And we've been talking about the gender wars for a while. Obviously, you guys know that. We've been have confirmation of none other than Pearl Davis, who is actually kind of threatening,
there's no encouraging.
I'm fishing, I guess.
Yeah. Guys, let us know when the sound comes back on.
It's back.
It's back.
It's back.
Quick solution. All right, now.
So we were saying that we've been predicting that the gender wars, the gender discourse, and everything that has to do with the red pill manosphere and female nature and psychology behind females was actually going to be used and weaponized for the 2024 election. And that is actually what is happening right now, confirmed this week by no other than Pearl Davis, who has, in a way, kind of threatened and kind of telling males to not vote, or men to not vote until their men's issues are addressed. What those are, we will break that down. And so sucks. We should have. Damn. The thing is, Instagram kicked me out at 9 when I was gonna start like telling people to get here, but it is what it is.
We'll get on the algorithm. Guys, help us get on the algorithm. Like this video, comment in the chat. There's 22 of you in here.
22,
there should be 22.
Wow.
There should be 21 likes because at least one of you is Billy Corbin.
Wow.
And I know that. At least one of you is Billy Corbin.
Yeah.
So, like this show. All right. So, let's start off with.
Let me see if I can get on Instagram. Okay, continue. Start off.
Are you going to try and get on Instagram?
I'm going to try just so we can see if I can get more people in here, but I don't know. It's down, but you know, you can start in the meantime and I'll...
Actually, you know what? Let's get set up on TikTok in the meantime because we've been getting an audience on there. Guys, like, comment in the chat, please. Share our content. Help us get on the algorithm. Like this video. Yeah. Let us go live 1 second here on Instagram. And time what we have you guys here. Boom, 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 boom.
I am Billy Corbin.
Watch it really be him.
Let's see. Instagram is down. Let me see what Twitter has to say.
Nelson, can you help us out here? Can you set me up on the...
Apparently, everyone's freaking out and going to Twitter because Instagram is down. Yeah, it is live.
Yeah, the live is already ready.
I just want to give you guys an update. Today, Marco Rubio. So Marco Rubio is one of the main guys behind the TikTok ban. And I want to tell you guys, well, we got set up and everything here with TikTok. A little update on that and how politicians don't like to be held accountable.
No.
Okay. So wherever you stand on this issue, you may be pro banning TikTok, not banning it, whatever it is, or maybe you think it's better if an American company will buy it. I personally do not want Americans to touch it because they've ruined every single app, right? I like look at Instagram. It used to be a great app. Loved Instagram, my favorite app. That's how I grew my following. And now we can't even log in. I was kicked out of every single account that I own on Instagram 30 minutes ago, 45 minutes ago, and I can't even log back in. And so today, Marco Rubio, I guess a lot of people have been protesting and calling their legislators, calling senators and saying, hey, we don't want you guys to ban TikTok for X and Y reason. Well, Marco Rubio has taken to Twitter to basically allude or say or lie, saying that China is essentially manipulating people to threaten their representatives because of the TikTok ban. So I was making a reel, which is when I got kicked out of Instagram. And I was like, have you guys noticed that these politicians do not like to be held accountable? They literally will blame a foreign agent, the CCP, because people push back on legislation and call them out on their bullshit. If you look at who's funding Marco Rubio, you're going to see that it's AIPAC. We talked about that last time, the Israel lobby. You're going to see also that he's getting paid by Meta and Google and Amazon, not directly, but through a third-party agency. That's the way that they're able to legally lobby for companies, through a third-party agency. And just now, right, when we were sitting down, our friend Informant Anthony, who was visiting this week here, our friend Anthony sent us a tweet. I don't know if you guys follow an account, Nancy Pelosi's tracker. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Nancy Pelosi's stock trade tracker. It's what it is. So basically this account has 500,000 followers on Twitter, and they track the politicians' stocks and what they're trading so that you know, because obviously they have insider trading knowledge. So if you want to get on the bandwagon of what these people are doing, then you can do so. And I want to read to you guys real quick what's going on with Dan Crenshaw. So a 310% gain, partly fueled by legislation. Dan Crenshaw is one of the most powerful politicians in Congress. He's also been one of those most vocal about banning TikTok. Here are some questionable timeline of Meta trade and how you got to put it on silent, right?
Got it.
Here's a questionable timeline of Meta and how those copying him could have made 310% on their stocks. Okay. So back in October 22 of 2002, Dan Crenshaw buys Meta stock for $137 a share. Okay. 2 months later, Crenshaw trade is publicly filed when Meta is at 117 per share. Those manually copying him via social media also buy for 117 a share. April 2023. Crenshaw publicly calls for TikTok to be banned from member of Congress phones. Stock then rallies 40% the following 3 months. This year, March 13, 24. Crenshaw votes yes on TikTok potential ban. 3/20/2024, so March 2024, Meta hits an all-time high at 505 per share.
No.
Since Crenshaw bought this stock in 2022, it has gone up 290%. And since its filing in December 2nd, 2022, the stock is up 310%. So whenever you guys think that these politicians are actually care about you or are acting in behalf of the American people because of national security, or they care so much about your children, they don't want your children to watch these women twerking or these awful videos that encourage them to commit suicide or whatever it is. Whenever you guys think of that, just know that the majority of them are trading stocks and becoming rich because their salary, it's not $500,000, right? It's kind of like, how is Nancy Pelosi so rich when she has been getting paid the same amount of money or more or less for the last
when
whatever
you've been a public
years.
servant your entire
Right,
career.
exactly.
How are you a
Exactly.
millionaire?
Mhm.
And it's because insider trading is actually legal for politicians. In fact, if
Exactly.
you didn't know, there are no insider trading regulations that stop our politicians from passing laws that help companies that they are vested in. No laws that
Exactly.
do that. You think that that would be a concern, but no.
So, you know, that's for as far as like where we are on the TikTok stuff. So they're getting a lot of backlash. And because they're getting a lot of backlash, now they're blaming China, saying that they're manipulating people into calling their offices and being pissed off instead of just saying, hey, listen, even if I'm going to vote to divest TikTok, there's a lot of pushback. Like, don't dehumanize your constituents. Like, I'm one of those people that have called. Don't dehumanize your constituents, saying that it's just a bunch of manipulated Gen Z kids. I'm not Gen Z. I'm a millennial. But yeah, that's pretty much what's going on with fucking Dan Crenshaw.
Let's give a
and
couple
the
of shout outs to our
eye
supporters
patch.
here. Adam Silva coming through saying, happy Thursday once again, ladies. No one can play gatekeeper regarding the redemptive work of Christ. Where would we all be without his grace? Thank you for always bringing the truth. Love and appreciate you both so much. And thank you, Adam, for always supporting us. We love you so much. And we appreciate you so much for helping us keep this show going. Guys, remember, Mostly Peaceful Latinas is self-funded. Linda and I work very hard in our regular jobs to be able to bring you this show. No Illuminati, no lizard people. So if you find it in your heart to support us, we really appreciate it. Top Dog says social media was at its best in the early 2010s when it was a young people's thing. Yeah, this is true. I miss MySpace.
And even Instagram at first. I mean, Instagram was a
good app.
Great app.
C-Chap writes, love you guys on X. Thank you, C-Chap. Savages on X. All right. So let's discuss the story of an OnlyFans girl named Nala. What's Nala's last name?
Just
what does she go by? Is it just Nala?
Nala. I forgot. Nala. I don't know if you guys remember. Actually, I can just do this. This chick right here, Nala. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, pull her up because I can't put your screen because I can't show mine.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on with mine.
Okay. Share screen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you guys remember this chick right here from the Whatever podcast? Do you guys remember this girl? Press 1 in the chat if you remember who this chick is. So this girl became very, very famous. Or she was actually already famous, but
she's one of the top earners
on OnlyFans, and she's known as like the Aego Queen or something. I think this is actually the video that went viral, where she also talks about how she likes men that cheats. Let me see. How she likes. Right, exactly. And she's also like, what is that, anime? Is that what she does? The Aego stuff?
The Aego stuff? No, it's called the Hentai.
Okay, whatever. Anyways,
we were corrected. Hentai.
Yeah. So she is a sex worker, and apparently that face that you see right here, like this face, whatever, it's like she's really famous for, like the queen of whatever that is. And you know, everybody was kind of like, okay,
it was really controversial because she was really out there. Like she said some pretty nasty things about her views on relationships, how she's like clearly just an overly sexual marketing out to her OnlyFans. This was when Nala was on like maybe less than a year ago, 8 months ago, something along those lines. It was a huge deal. The episode got a lot of views. A lot of her clips went viral. And over the last month, Nala has been baptized. Right. Actually, let's show you guys a video here.
That's her video, right?
Yeah, this is her video. Let me just bring it up here. All right, let me play this for you guys.
Are you a cheater?
Yeah, repetitively.
unfortunately.
But your biggest fantasy is
Not
you
even my
cheating.
biggest. It's like one of.
And herein lies the controversy.
Well, let me actually, because I heard a whole thing today about it. The reason why the reason why she became a Christian or got baptized is because she's actually dating a guy who's a Christian who she says showed her real love and grace and the power and love of, Jesus Christ. So, she starts, I guess, posts this video. It goes viral again because she does have a very large following, not just on OnlyFans, but on TikTok and also on Instagram. And the controversy.
And the controversy
And the
ensues,
controversy.
which is that TikTok is up in arms. I'm sorry, Twitter is up in arms. Does the OnlyFans girl have redemption after a life of degeneracy and
Selling
over
her body
sexualization and selling
online?
her pictures of her butthole for $5 online? Or is there no redemption? Is she condemned to carry the weight of that cross for forever? And it's so, should she be shamed for it? Are Christians in a position to judge whether or not she should be saved? And that is currently the dialogue that's taking place on Twitter.
Right.
You guys tell us in the chat where it is that you're at. Do you think that do you think that the salvation is real? And do you feel that it's our place to judge whether or not her salvation is real or not?
Right. So I actually heard a clip when I was getting ready today, and it was I forgot, it's a content creator. He's a Black American. I don't know his name right now, but he's the one that's been driving the most anti-Nala stuff, which he made some good points. He said that I guess she didn't take down her OnlyFans immediately after her conversion or her baptism, that she, I guess, kept it open for a while, and then she made the announcement that it was while, I guess you have to go like a whole month or something before the account was able to come down. Like there was just a lot of different things that seemed shady, that perhaps she was just kind of making this theater or lying about this to get a different type of following and attention. And the guy's whole thing is that in the Bible, when people are saved or redeemed, they usually, I mean, that was like 2,000 years ago. Like you can't really compare it to what it is now. But their whole thing is like, back then, like you went through a period of like introspect and like keeping to yourself and like, going away from the world and just, in solitude and like reeling it all back. And she hasn't done that. She, if anything, they're upset that she's now not preaching, but, trying to tell people like, this is what I believe in now. This is what I feel like God
Many
is.
such cases, by the way,
Right.
because
And
most
she
people
comes-
that
she comes
newly
from
find their way to Christ end up kind of taking that route.
Exactly. And she also comes from I think her family disowned her because she does come from
like a religious, like hyper religious family.
Like a religious family. So
my thing is that I do agree. I think that when you first find yourself when you first find your way to Christ, like it's a very humbling moment.
Yeah.
Finding your way to faith again. And the weight of realizing that you are a sinner, that you are imperfect, that you are unworthy of God's love. It's a really overwhelming feeling. And I think that naturally the progression would be that feeling would be so overwhelming and so humbling that you do seek some level of solitude. However, I also think that we need to understand that times are different now.
Right.
And that particularly Nala's generation and those that will come after it are living out these spiritual awakenings and spiritual journeys in the digital age where we overshare and everything is overshared. What we're doing for dinner, what our families look like, what we're doing, where we vacation, what we're buying. And I think that it's natural to assume that a baby Christian, a newly born again Christian, is going to struggle with knowing where those limits are at.
Yeah.
Where it is that where should discretion come in, where where does the inner peace need to come in, where does the moment of disconnecting come in. But I do think that the she's not, if the idea that she's not really saved, or the critiquing or being like, oh well, I'll see it when I believe it or whatnot, I do think that that comes from a condescending place. And the reason why is, as Christians, if you are a believer of Christ, right, you are called to want to share the good news. You are called to bring souls to Christ. You are called to want to help save people. And if all you do is gatekeep and shame who is worthy of identifying as a Christian, or who is worthy of seeking out Christ's love, then that's just not really Christian.
Well, and that's the problem with a lot of, I think, the radical Christians and the Twitter and the Christian fanatics on Twitter mostly, is that they have this thing of gatekeeping Christianity and who's the real Christian, who's not a real Christian. I mean, we've had all these scandals in the last like 6 months between the Isabella DeLuca who and the cake stuff, because the people thought that she was obviously showing her breasts by the angle of the phone, and that was so unladylike and that was so not Christian, despite the fact that she was completely covered up. And then you also had the controversy of the Christian calendar. Remember that?
Yeah.
Where people were saying, well, this is not really a Christian calendar, and that's really not what they were trying to advertise. And I think that this is just another scenario. I also think that women, I mean, look, you guys know we're very pro women, but women, I've seen a lot of hate and love. I've actually seen more love for Nala. I've actually seen more love for her from a lot of girls than hate. But there was like people like Pearl, like, other people that we talk about, who, to me, not necessarily Pearl, but other women, to me, it's like they don't like the attention that she's getting from their audience. You understand? Because before, she was getting attention from the men who lust after her and were buying her OnlyFans subscription. But now she's getting attention from the Christian crowd, and that's driving these women crazy because they want to gatekeep Christianity. And I want to highlight this comment right here.
Yeah, and they want to gatekeep Christianity because the truth of the matter is that being a believer in Christ and being saved in the blood of Christ is a really beautiful thing, but it's not to be gatekept. It's not something that only you have access to, which unfortunately a lot of women that exist in this RP space gatekeep femininity, what men should be attracted to. It's actually pretty silly that it's a bunch of, in reality, it's a bunch of women shaming men into not liking, now I'm not going to say the horror part, but not liking girls that look a certain way, or that are too attractive, or they get too much attention, or whatever it may be, or that are independent, or they have jobs, or whatever ideology it is. It's a bunch of women that sometimes can be hateful because they're gatekeeping what it is that they think men should be attracted to. And again, it's not all of these women call themselves
sorry guys, she had a little thing in her nose.
Not all of these people call themselves Christians, but to the ones that they do, it's just very unchristian like to act as if the people don't have redemption. In fact, like that's the opposite of our faith.
Well, and I want to, Maverick, thank you so much for your contribution. He said, if Nala truly is repentant, her actions will show this is only the beginning. We can only hope for the best for her future, and she must obey him. I agree with that. And I think Pearl made a good point, despite the fact that I don't necessarily like her. And this is something that I she's not the first one to make a point, but I do think that a lot of these women who go for sex work usually do have a mental disorder. And it usually comes from self-esteem,
some level of trauma,
from either a level of trauma or self-esteem issues or daddy issues, what do you want to call it? Again, it's not to take away responsibility from their actions, but there is some sort of trauma who has led them to believe that it's okay to sell your body to strangers on the internet who are going to do what they do, right? We can't say explicit things here. And I do think that they have some sort of like mental disorder.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you see a girl that like over sexualizes herself like that young on, like it's at least to me, like there's clearly a pain there. There's clearly like some kind of trauma that leads a woman to do that, because modesty to some degree is something that to some level is like innate. Like having pudor, like taking
Right.
care of your intimacy. That's kind of innate. So when you're so willing to give that up so young and being so over sexualized, like I'll always assume that somewhere along that line there's been
Something
some degree of
happened.
trauma,
Something
some
happened, right.
abuse, something traumatic that's happened to kind of trigger being okay with this behavior. Now,
Well, look, this comment I think goes piggybacks to what you're saying. John Ware Jr., he says, Linda's the first person to mention her being a preacher's kid. Preacher's kids have a reputation for a reason, maybe being overbearing. Can, as a religious parent, has its side effects. I have a funny story about that. One of my high school best friends was, her parents were extremely strict. And I mean, like, they were so strict that she couldn't do anything. She was like a bird in a cage. Like, I was allowed to go over her house and I would sleep over all the time. And obviously, parent supervision, we wouldn't really do much except watch movies, hang out. Her dad would cook, whatever, her mom, and we just hang out all the time or go to the mall. The parents would pick us up. Very strict parents. And the parents thought that by being so strict, they were doing something, what was best for their daughter. And I think you could obviously give them you can give them a little bit of reason with how children are, right? Doing drugs, alcohol, sex, whatever. But what happened to this person after college? We didn't really talk after high school. She went somewhere and I stayed in Miami, or I think she stayed in Miami too, but I'm not really sure what happened. We did reunite a few years later. Like, I don't know if like 4, 5, 6 years later. By this point, well, no, it was actually after I had already graduated college. So I don't know, let's say like 6 years later. And I have a career and I'm working full time in corporate. And I'm like, so what are you doing? What's your life? What's going on? And she ends up telling me that she's an escort. She's like a high paid escort. And this is someone that like was super overprotected, didn't lose her virginity to like way later in life. Very shy girl, very modest girl. She would flirt with guys when we were younger, but it was, just not overly sexual. And I was shocked. I was completely shocked to hear that she was an escort. And I was like, what? Like, you are an escort? Like, you out of all people? I never, and maybe it was still my innocence back then, because even after you're come out of college, I'm sorry, like, you're still retarded, in my opinion. But it was shocking to me. She ended up getting married to one of her clients, by the way, many such cases. And that's that. And I feel like what you said of like the overprotection of children, you have to have a happy medium, because a lot of times they will look for that reason, that escape, to go crazy when the parents no longer can control them after they're 18, or when they go off to college, or when they move out on their own. So that's a story for you.
To me, it's just redemption and salvation is such an important part of Christianity that it's difficult for me to believe that a Christian wouldn't want to be welcoming of someone. And I know that it seems that some of the arguments being made, it's like, oh, well, why does it have to be celebrated? Because we're all supposed to rejoice. The Bible literally calls you to rejoice when souls are saved. So it seems, again, I think that Kanye's like a perfect example of that. When Ye seems to be like a person that's consistently fighting this internal battle,
like literally
of like darkness
battle.
and like a true spiritual battle consistently taking place within him. And yes, you rejoice when it seems like he's finding his way to the light, despite the fact that sometimes he finds his way right back to
which
darkness.
Is what's going on right now. I don't feel like this girl is the best thing for Kanye, and Kanye fans are just like Trump fans who are very passionate about Kanye and defend them. So I wouldn't even say anything public because they'll probably like want to come after me. But I just don't like, look at the way that Bianca dresses. First of all, there's a bunch of women on Twitter and online saying that it's a humiliation ritual, that he's forcing her to do this. No one's going to force you to do anything. You have free will. You have agency. This is a 28-year-old woman who before, because people pulled up her past, before dating Kanye West, was already wearing all sorts of very revealing, very grotesque, very BDSM-like clothes. Correct. That's kind of like what she likes. And, now she's just taking it to the extreme. And I feel like they're kind of on that demonic wave where they think that this is art.
I just
Or
feel
that
like
they're
it's constantly like
challenging,
with him,
like,
and I've
you
said this
know?
before, and it might be like the conspirational side of me, but it feels like, yay, you're consistently watching him struggle to like earn his soul back from
Yeah.
darkness.
Mhm.
And like it's a tug and pull, and we're watching it live, right? We're watching it. You see it in his albums, you see it in the stark differences that show up in the art and in the albums. And I don't think that it's fake. I don't think that it's fake because, you know, remember when they came down here for Sunday service,
Yes.
when they had here, and like you go to these events and you feel the power of Christ because you're there in Christ's name, despite of what one person's intention might be or not, you're there in Christ's name. So I don't know if it's effective to the mission of saving souls to shame people as not being perfect Christians.
Yeah.
Because I think that the problem that a lot of people make, and it's something that a lot of Christians make, as somebody who used to reject the church when I was very young. I found Christ when I was 22 years old. But as somebody that used to reject it, and I thought like, oh, literally any religion, like I'll become like a Buddhist or something, literally anything. And the reason why was because of Christians within the church that made it seem like God's love was conditional, and that God's love was conditional of you being a perfect Christian. And the reality is that none of us will ever be worthy of God's love. We are all very imperfect. And the promise is that God loves us regardless, as long as we choose him. And I think that when Christians gatekeep salvation as to who they think is worthy of it or not, who they feel is worthy, that God died on the cross for their sins and not this other person's, I just don't think that comes off very Christian.
Well,
Like, and only exposes the novice level of Christianity that some of these people hold in their own faith.
Well, today they were actually, I guess she made a post saying like my fashion line or my merch store coming soon or something. And then, you know, this Christian account was like, oh, by the way, I feel like somebody said it here. I think Marx said it here that there are more of the trad cons here. This one, Nate Marx said the trad cons are actually defending this girl. It is only repo virgins and pro who are hating on her. That is very true. But they were hating on her because I guess she's gonna either start selling merch. And I'm like, okay, she has millions of followers, right? And she's gonna quit her main source of income because she was a top earner on OnlyFans. To be a top earner in OnlyFans, you got to put in work, because most people are making like $150 a month. They're not like, it's not because you go and like you start an OnlyFans, all of a sudden you're going to become rich overnight.
Right.
It's kind of like YouTube. Like we're nothing compared to like, you know, the big YouTube creators. So, and I said on Twitter, I'm like, what is this girl supposed to do? Like, why are you guys upset that now she's trying to make an honest living through merch, whatever that may be, instead of selling herself online, right? So those things to me, like, it's okay to be a little question stuff or be skeptical about it.
I mean, you want to use discernment with everything.
Right, but it's like, what is she supposed to do if she's not gonna make, how is she gonna, like, what I said, you guys want her to work at McDonald's or something? You know what I feel like? Do you guys remember the scene in Game of Thrones? I like, do you guys remember this scene? Please hold on, because this is what I think that they want to do to Christians that convert. I feel like these people, who, what are they called? The Red Pill Bros, the fucking crazy Christians. I feel like this is what they want to do. Hold on. Let me show you guys. Share screen. How do I share screen? Hold on a second. I feel like this is, why is there so many freaking ads? I'm just trying to show you guys a YouTube video of Cersei's Walk of Atonement. Do you remember this scene? Do you guys remember this scene?
You can't play too much of it. And
you
mute
can?
the sound. No, and mute the sound.
It's a way.
Do you guys remember this scene on Game of Thrones? Can you say it? That scene right there. I feel like that is exactly that atonement walk of like shame. Like shame.
If you leave it too long, it's gonna get dinged.
Why? Oh, it's gonna get dinged?
Copyright.
Oh, okay. I feel like that atonement walk of Cersei Lannister is like the perfect description of what this people especially the men, want women to do and able to be redeemed, because to them is a shaming tactic, similar like the whatever podcast, which
Mhm.
is like, and the Fresh and Fit. Fresh and Fit is a little bit different, but I feel like the whatever podcast could be that way.
Right.
I want to give a shout out to 265308. Trump and Bolsonaro are fucking innocent. Yes, they are innocent. But here we are under a Marxist,
Yes, we all
occupation.
agree.
Yes, we all agree. But,
Yes, we
you
all
know,
agree.
Emery Roy, thank you for being here. You're so sweet. She says MPL Thursday. You're so right, ladies. I would argue RP women are pick-me's. They are. Linda and I had a small combo on a few weeks ago on Twitter. I still try to understand them shitting on women in their 20s like myself. Yeah, I think, we're older, and when, when you're older, you could get offended or hate on some stuff, but there comes a point where like you are so yourself that like it just doesn't matter, dude. Like it doesn't matter. Like who loves you, who cares for you, whose opinion you value,
Right.
and whose opinion you don't. Somebody can go on the internet and call you a whore, old, ugly, whatever it is.
Someone
And
just
it's
called
like,
me mostly peaceful tortas on TikTok.
oh, there we go. Well, thank you guys. That's
Thanks,
very
guys.
nice of you.
Very sweet. Thanks for the viewership.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
But when you're
And-
little old ladies, it doesn't matter anymore.
It doesn't
because
matter
you're
anymore.
not easily swayed by
but
other
I do
people's
feel,
opinions.
to Emery's point, she is a girl in her
Mhm.
20s, and it's not just her. There's this girl, she's so sweet. This black girl that follows us on Twitter. She's a virgin. She always talks about how excited she is to
Oh,
get
I know.
married.
Yes,
you know who it
yes,
is?
yes.
She has with a
Mika.
Z. Yes, Mika. That's what it is. She's so sweet. She's so nice. She's, dressing her modest, clothing to go to church, baking, whatever. And here come all these men and women, Pearl as well, to just shame at her, to tell her that maybe she is too picky with men, that perhaps, like all these horrible things. That's like, okay, but it's never enough, right? You guys said you wanted virgins. Now you have one. Now you're going to shame her for wearing the wrong skirt, wearing the wrong
being
hair,
too modest,
being too modest,
too
being
picky,
online, being too picky. So
maybe you shouldn't be
can't.
too picky.
Right.
You can't win.
You
You can't
can't
win.
win.
We
You
see it. I
can't.
think that the argument comes up a lot, like when you talk about AI, right? They'll
Right.
use AI to put clothes on whores as a way of shaming them, but then they'll use AI to generate pictures
Yeah.
of modest women in scantily clad.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't win.
We got another super chat from Mudaib. I don't know. I'm feeling like this is like Islam.
Madib.
Madib.
Yeah, Madib.
Is this Arab?
I think it's Madib.
Hey, gals, it's been a while. Nice to see you back. Will you be expanding your shows into different areas, or maybe times is what he meant. Hopefully, yes, soon. And let's see.
The answer is yes.
The
We will
answer
be
is
growing
yes. The
eventually. Just
answer
hang
is
with us.
yes.
Just hang with us. We don't make enough
Okay,
money to
wait,
make this
somebody
our full
said-
time.
Somebody said, I'm watching Game of Thrones for the first time. Okay, I'm watching Game of Thrones for like the 10th time.
Linda watches Game of Thrones
Every
every night
night.
to go to sleep. It's what
Every
relaxes
night.
her. Some people get like a rain machine or like sounds of the ocean. Linda watches Game of Thrones. I should pull up your text message today when you were sending me dragons that you wanted to buy.
Yeah. I saw this video of like how they make the dinosaurs for movies, like the giant T-Rex, and it's real. And I was like, I would literally force Disney to make me one of these, like a dragon, and then I will use it on my enemies. If
Did
I
you
were a
watch
dictator.
the movie that I told
If I
you
were
to
a
watch?
dictator. Which one? Yes, I did. It was good. Yes, it was good.
That's the
with Millie
ending.
Millie
With
Brown.
Millie
What
Brown,
about the
yeah.
dragon? Yeah, it was good.
Yes,
it was
yes,
good.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes, I did hate season 8. I'm sorry. I thought the special effects, I thought season 8 in terms of like costumes and the what is it called? The AI, the design, whatever you want to call it, graphics, what do you call that? Cinema to CGI.
Mhm.
I thought it was amazing. But obviously, first of all, that it was so rushed. And second of all, that the ending sucked. Like it was so social justice warrior. Like, oh, we're just gonna break the wheel. Like no one's gonna be king or queen. Like we're just gonna have the cripple take over the land. Like fuck you, bro. Like Daenerys Targaryen deserved that crown. I don't care if she's a fascist. I don't care if she had to burn down. First of all, King's Landing was degenerate and disgusting. And you know what? The dragon fire was actually cleansing the souls. You know what I mean? So I thought it was unfair, and I just no. If I were a dictator, I would force the writers to come up with a better idea.
With a better ending.
I would call them to the White House and be like, you have 2 years to remake this shit. If not, you're done. You're done.
Let's move on from Nala. You can share your comments down in the section below and let us know what you guys think. Was Nala worthy of redemption or was she not?
We should call her.
Moving-
We should ask her to be
We
on the show.
should
Maybe
we should ask her to come on the show. Maybe she'll come on and she'll talk to us and we can get her perspective. Coming up, next story is Planet Fitness has been going through a bit of a Bud Light moment, where a woman complained that the teenage daughter sent pictures of herself within the locker room where a transgender man was changing into a dress. She went home, said she was uncomfortable, and when the mother went to go complain at the Planet Fitness, they were told that the bathrooms were open to transgender women and that if the young girl felt uncomfortable, she just shouldn't be in the changing room.
Okay. I wish I could pull up. I'm sorry. I wish I could pull up this one video that I went viral where I explained why we are where we are and how, and I hate to say this,
Is it on
how-
TikTok or
It's not. It's on Instagram, which I'm kicked out right now. Not kicked out, but locked out. And my video was basically saying how women rights, which I'm not saying we're against, opened the gateway to LGBT rights, which then, of course, we thought to ourselves, it's in the reels.
I don't know if it's gonna let me because I don't have an account to log in from because as you know,
Keep going down, I'll tell you. It's like a yellow paper. Oh
Mm,
shit. Yeah,
no.
you see.
I'm sure if you log on, you'll be able to.
Yeah, but whatever it is, what it is. What can we do?
Then you can share the screen.
I can't log on.
No, you don't have to. Go to your page. Oh, you're right. You can log on.
Yes,
You're right.
Now I'm
You're
kicked
right.
out. And then look, there it is.
It's
There it
this
is. Go
one.
up, go up, go up. It's that one.
Okay. Well, let's see if it lets me share the page. Let's see if it lets me, everybody.
Well, in that video, I explained. Let's see. Can you? No, maybe. It is public, so.
Okay. Okay. It will play.
Uh-huh.
So let's
Daenerys is still my queen, also, by the way.
let's share the screen, guys. If you're on TikTok and can't see what we are sharing, please remember to check us out on YouTube at mostlypeacefullatinas.com. That's where we go live. We just bring in the audience here on TikTok so that you guys can find us and interact with our content.
Wrong. I
let
didn't
me-
vote for Obama because I didn't have my citizenship until 2014. So my first voting year was actually 2014. And
Well,
also,
I mean, I don't understand how that's relevant.
That's
Yeah,
not
like
relevant at
that's not
all.
something that's
LGBT rights have happened for years,
Yeah.
years before Obama. But anyways,
in
But
fact, the
they
argument can be made the
they
opposite.
always-
But
they always want to blame women for everything.
let's play this. Do I need to have the sound on here for
No.
it to play? Okay, fair. I'm gonna press play on this. Can you
Yeah.
hear it?
I don't, can you hear it?
Can you guys hear this?
Can you? No? Press play.
No, you
No.
can't hear it. Okay, hold on. Let me put up the volume. I think that's what I would have to do.
You have to put up the
Yeah.
volume. Okay, don't talk.
No.
It's not mine. It's yours. Sorry, guys. Okay.
Sorry, guys. Never mind.
Never mind.
Never mind, not gonna work.
The point of the chart. The point of the chart is to explain how the women's movement led to the LGBT rights that led to the trans rights. And what I do where I do find hope, right, was that when we started Twitter, and especially now with the gender wars, we have a lot of rad fans, we have a lot of feminists who are very, very anti-troon, very. And it brings me much joy because before that, a few years ago, the majority of the people that were standing with the troons and the lunacy of the gender, whatever it's called, gender discourse, obviously the LGBT, gay, lesbians, whatever, bisexuals, and women, mostly women, and obviously white liberal men. And what a lot of women don't realize is that this is a mockery over gender. Some of you guys do, most of you do, because you are on our side, you're on the right side. But a lot of women don't. And I know that because when I talk to my Democrat friends, they make it seem like it's just about freedom and it's about letting people do, including men, whatever they want to do with their bodies, which technically I don't really care if you want to go like chop your penis off because you feel like doing it. But the reality is that it was never going to stop there. It was going to go into your spaces because they hate you. It's a hate against, resentment and hate against women. And you can actually see this also in a lot of gay men. There's a lot of gay men that are imitating women that will tell you your face that they will fuck your husband or that they can turn a gay. Have you not heard men say I can turn him gay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Plenty of times. And then you have words.
No, and the straight men that they sleep with are like trophies. Like, oh,
Right.
I've been able to
Right.
turn X men, X amount of men.
Yeah. Or they will tell you how much better they are at doing everything because they're men. So, I've had trends, actually more gays than anything. The liberal gays, not the right wing gays, but the liberal gays will usually say something like, such and such drag queen or transgender person can do better makeup than you. They dress better than you. They'll never, do a hair like that. Like it's always this competition and this constant hate against women, calling us birthing people. Yesterday, I heard another awful term on Twitter, ovary user, ovary incubator, something like that, to describe women. And this was coming from a transgender. And the saddest part, what?
Somebody wrote, it's funny how old school gay liberals are now considered right-wing conservatives. It's true.
No,
it really is true.
I mean, I don't even know what to say.
Truly is true.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate because this isn't by any means like a blanket statement of gays in general. I have a lot of gay friends that on the contrary protect and love me and that I'd rather hang out with them than I would to hang out with like straight friends sometimes because they're so caring. But I will say this, some of the most blatant misogynists that I've seen some come from gay men that say very outlandish things to straight women sometimes that again, it's like I don't know if they feel that because they do identify as gay that somehow that justifies the things that they're saying to women, but they're things that could be defined as very misogynistic. And
women, get away with that. And it's one of those things that I do appreciate the radical feminists for that, for being against the troons. Obviously, some of your ideology I'll never be able to agree with.
Right.
But I can come together. And again, if the GOP, if the conservative influencers wanted to win the war on this gender's discourse situation, they would at least try to appeal to those radical feminists and those feminists that are super against troons to vote for Trump, vote for the GOP in 2020. Because it was really only been the GOP through state legislation that has pushed back against not just the Biden administration's agenda on the LGBT and the trans stuff, but also in state legislatures like South Dakota, Florida, things like that. But of course, we don't really have a solid plan to do anything because it's just the GOP and they freaking suck.
Well, I mean, nothing exists, right? Because when you really think about it, one of the states that's leading the way on this like women's right legislation is supposed to be the state of Florida. And when you really look, there are not really a whole lot of protections here either, So I think if Florida can't be the standard, then we got to be realistic to the fact that there really isn't any progress being made in that. And the reality is that women are losing their safe spaces.
They are.
Women are stepping into a time where, they're told, I love like the RP talking point when it's like, well, aside from giving birth, what do women contribute to society? As if giving birth is this just kind of just who cares? No big deal. You know, you're a giver of life, giver of creation. You can create an entire human being, and that's not enough. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But I think that one of the biggest lessons to learn here, and part of what it is that we wanted to cover with the story, is that the Planet Fitness value plummets 400 million after transgender turmoil. So while legislators might not be
It's public
pushing
opinion,
through
right?
the legislation that needs to protect women's spaces, the people are definitely talking, and they are talking, and they're sending a message out with their buying dollars. And they're saying, we will not continue to put our money towards companies that reject basic science. They are men and there are women. It is a biblical principle. It is biological. And that is what it is. And I think that, because, you know,
I heard transgender, sorry, like, and they made a good point, even though I don't have to agree, but there was actually a bunch of trans women pushing back and agreeing with the chick or the lady that, you know, exposed that man. And the reason why they were pushing back so hard was because they said, I work for my transition. Like, I got my body done. I went through facial surgery. I changed my voice. I shaved my Adam's apple. I tuck my penis in. Like, I work for my transition to be able to look the part and be able to enter these spaces. Now, of course, I don't agree with that. Of course, I wouldn't want those people either in my spaces. But if I'm in if I'm in the bathroom and I have no idea that you're transgender because you look just like us, right? I hate to say it, but most people are not going to care. If you can't even differentiate between a woman, right? Or maybe you're like, is it not? But that person looks like Blair White. What are you
but there needs
supposed
to be
say?
like some level of like self-awareness with that as well. Because, for example, in this video of the transgender that's in this bathroom,
It's a man.
it's a male, and it's a presenting
man.
male.
Right.
There's
That's why they're
nothing
pushing
about
back.
it.
That's why they're on our side.
Right. And I
right?
think that look, at the end of the day, like, there's if we're going to exist in a society where we are, this is why we've always said we're talking about a demographic that makes up less than 1% of the population, and how
LGBT is
willing
5,
are we
right?
as a society to make these radical changes in the way that we exist to accommodate them, and we can. But the reality is that I think that the right answer is that there needs to be family bathrooms in every location, and those family bathrooms need to be private, and transgender people should go into those bathrooms where they feel safer, because it's not even about other people, it's about them as well. If they don't feel safe walking into the bathroom of their biological gender, they shouldn't be forced to walk into that bathroom either. But somebody else shouldn't feel unsafe as a result of you feeling safer. So what you need is just more family bathrooms. And look, at the end of the day, family bathrooms are needed for a plethora of reasons. Autism rates continue to grow, and as a result, there are a lot of grown adults that need special bathrooms where a mom can take in her handicapped, her autistic 30-year-old son that maybe is incapable of going to the bathroom on their own, and they need bigger bathrooms in order to accommodate that. So I just think that we companies need to start accommodating to the fact that we do exist in a different society. I don't think that the answer is pick whatever bathroom or having the state appoint which bathroom or which not. I think that there should be rules that there should be family bathrooms in every location.
Look at hold on, where is it? Where was the thing that I was? Oh shoot.
But I think it is sending a message, right?
Look at what the man looks like, and look at the title of this Reddit. Like, this is so fucked. Transphobic boomers are getting mad because Planet Fitness let a trans woman use a woman's bathroom in the modern world. Laugh out loud. And you can see the picture right there of a man, clearly a man, right? There's a man. It's not even like a woman passing man. Just standing there looking at you is just horrifying. Somebody else.
I want to make the comment because the story here is about the power that we're having now with with our purchasing daughters. And I think that Republicans need to understand this. Something happened after we crashed Bud Light. Conservatives said, no more. We're not going to do this anymore. We don't want to work with companies that erase what being a woman is, that erase womanhood. And Bud Light took a step back and they made changes. They fired the C-level executives that had been in charge of that marketing decision. The advertising agency that they worked with fired the people that were involved of that. Everybody involved with the campaign stopped working with Bud Light, and they made corrections. And they tried to come up with super patriotic commercials after that, and they tried to correct themselves to some degree. And there was a section of conservatives that felt like, too little too late, we won't support you. And I wanted to just point out of how erroneous I think that is, because conservatives are not winning the culture war, and we don't really drive the market. It's why every June, July, we see that every single large corporation changes their logo to an LGBT flag. And I think that if conservatives could prove that not only can we take our money away, like we're seeing right now with Planet Fitness plummeting $400 million after this debacle with the bathroom, if we're seeing that, then we should also be able to show these companies that our purchasing dollars are very powerful, and that if we, the same way that we tanked Bud Light, we can bring it right back up overnight. That is a great opportunity to demonstrate to these organizations that they need to start bending the knee to us, because we do have the power. And it's not even about take more conservative views. It's just don't shove your personal political views down my throat when I am simply trying to be a consumer of your product, which is something that we've seen way too often.
Somebody brought up Blair White, and they asked, I don't know if it was a rhetorical question, or if they were asking us. I can't find it. Oh, here we go. As conservatives, should we embrace the Blair Whites of the world? Personally, I don't follow Blair White. I've never followed her content. I am not very... I did follow
Blair White when I first woke up. And I mean, I don't have anywhere to follow Blair White on right now because I don't have any platforms. But for me personally, her existence, and I will say this, her existence to me gave me a sense when I was looking over to the Republican Party with the idea that it was just old, straight white men that didn't represent me. I was introduced to a lot of people that didn't fit that mold. Ana Paulina Luna, Rob Smith, you, for instance, and then amongst them was Blair White, who's like, that there is a transgender Trump gay supporter that has conservative
there's plenty
views.
of them.
And there's plenty, right, correct.
We've seen the drag queen. Remember the drag on South Beach that got in trouble because she made like a bunch of like racial comments, I think, and anti-Semitic stuff.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of those. But for me, I don't follow Blair White. I don't appreciate men mocking our gender or dressing like us or trying to be like us. I think it's very disrespectful. So I'm not a fan.
Well, I think one of the things I will say this about her.
Like, it doesn't exist to me.
She understands that not everybody on our side is going to appreciate her presence, and she doesn't try to force that on anybody. She's like, if you don't like that I'm transgender, that is perfectly fine. And I think that's one of the things that sets her apart, that she just allows people to have whatever opinion they are. She's open to the people that are open to her.
Violation warning. Your life has been flagged for hate speech. What for? What the transgender stuff? Probably. They're so like, you see, that's what I mean about TikTok. Like, they're so strict with these policies because of the legislators that kept crying about.
But it's still going, so be careful.
Yeah.
De todas maneras, lo que digas.
Anyways, moving on. What was the other topic?
The other topic that we have is Nickelodeon. One of you on our TikTok chat asked.
Wait. Before we move on to Nickelodeon, because this is related. I first want to cover the Pearl gender war situation.
Okay.
Is that tweet up?
No, I can't because my thing is done.
All right. So as we
you could pull it up.
As we have been telling you guys for quite some time, there was a point in time last year, especially when we were talking about the red pill, we were pushing back. And a lot of people said, why do you guys even care about this topic? Who cares about any of this? Focus on politics. Talk about DeSantis, talk about Trump, talk about legislation. And we did plenty of times. But we kept telling you guys over and over again that this will eventually catch up into politics because it's culturally related. And because a lot of these red pill men, red pill content creators actually consider themselves
Trump supporters.
Trump supporters or conservatives or right leaning or whatever you want to label yourself Republican, including Pearl Davis. So we saw the warning on the wall when she started attacking trad conservatives, going after Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens, Michael Knowles, mostly everybody at the Daily Wire, to get their attention so that she could get a platform within their massive audiences and preach what she likes to preach, which is supposedly men rights.
But we knew that it wasn't going to stop there, because we've been saying for quite some time, if you follow our content for over a year now, that this was all part of a larger political psyop. So for the last, 5-6 months, Pearl has just been putting overtime in to get the attentions of these larger conservative voices, in particular,
Mostly the Daily Wire
voices at the
people.
Daily Wire. And she got it. Pearl got the attention of the Daily Wire, and she's been on a couple of shows. In fact,
she was in Clavin's show, which I never watched. And then she was in a debate with Michael Knowles, where obviously Michael Knowles completely destroyed her and mopped the floor with her, not in a disrespectful way, but in a very intellectual way. And she just, she kept making the same points over and over. I've interviewed 1,000 people, 1,000 women. You wouldn't know. You've been married for so long, you're out of the game. Men are getting screwed up in divorce cases. You should sit in family court.
And he really hasn't been married that long. He got married in 2018.
Well, you know how she is. Anyways, all that to say that it's come full circle to where we are now, that in the past week, Pearl Davis has basically pushed the idea that men are not going to vote in the 2024 election, because their issues are not addressed. And so she started yesterday with by the way, she has no political experience. She has no political acumen. She's not in the political world. She's never worked on legislation. I really highly doubt.
She's not working with any legislators to push men's rights forward. There's no organization that she's working with.
There's no organization for men, period. Right?
Correct.
In terms of, there is for men, but in terms of like men rights. So the men rights that she talks about what are they? That men should keep full custody of children upon divorce, that no default divorce should be completely banned unless it's like extreme cases like abuse and like actual documented abuse, not like a woman lied and said that you abused her and it's not really true. We know that happens. What was the other thing? There's forced or mandatory DNA testing at birth so that you can verify that it is your child. No alimony, I think. Mostly those issues.
There was a discussion about the prenup.
Also, yeah, but the prenup is one of those things that you have the option to do that now, regardless.
Right, but that wasn't Michael's argument. Michael's argument is that he would never do a prenup, and then Pearl was very much like against that, which, I mean, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, because again, I'm the kind of woman that would offer the prenup.
I would, I'm sorry, but if I have a son, let's say that let's say that I'm super wealthy, me and my husband are super wealthy, and we know that we're going to leave all these millions. So let's say Trump, I'm sure Donald Trump Jr. and Ivanka and Eric and every single person in that family has a prenup, because you're not going to marry some chick and then she's going to take all the money that your father worked for to have this empire. So I'm very pro prenup. Obviously, like if you're an average Joe, I'm not saying you shouldn't, but like compared to somebody that's like makes a lot of money, I mean, you know what I mean? I don't know. But all these men rights, all these things that she talks about the last 3 days, and today she said this. Men aren't signing up to vote. Men aren't signing up for marriage. Men aren't signing up for participating in society, and yet everybody shamed them instead of taking their issues seriously. And another tweet, I think it was yesterday, she said that this was going to be the lowest voting record, right, ever. That people were just, that men were just not going to go to the polls. That this year in particular, men were going to have the lowest voting record. Now, let's think about where we are as a society, right? So We can address the men issues. We have talked about how we've gotten screwed in family court.
Yeah, well, I
last
mean,
year,
hell yeah.
when a woman lied about us and said that we were going to kidnap her kids, by
A
default, they
political
believed her.
operative
A political operative
use the family courts against us.
Yes,
We
they
so
believed
we
her, and we
we
had
know
to
that
go to
the
court.
family courts are screwed.
Yeah.
We are. And I think that's, you know,
Mhm.
I was having this conversation with you the other day, that part of the argument that Pearl makes is that
Uh-huh.
the family court should be looked at as criminal court.
Right.
And I feel like that's something we can get behind.
Yeah, and like there's a lot of things that you can discuss, but making this insane claim, and people were asking, even her own fans, where did you get these numbers? Where did you get the statistic that men are not going to show up to the polls? Let's start
Yeah.
off with men don't show up to the polls, period, because they just, for whatever reason, women are just more organized and they care more about whether it's abortion issues or pro-life, whatever it is. Now, the second point is that how do you get shit done, period, right? Whether it's Black Lives Matter, whether it's gay rights, whether it's women rights, whether it's Palestinian rights, whether it's Israel stuff.
Mhm.
It all comes to organizing. It all comes with funding, and it all comes with knocking on legislators' door to get their attention to get stuff passed, right? We can talk about the pro-life movement. Pro-life movement has been going on 50 years since Roe v. Wade happened. Obviously, it's reversed now. But for 50 years, women, mostly women and men, were organizing to reverse Roe v. Wade. That's why they made so much noise that Donald Trump ran on a promise to overturn Roe v. Wade. That is what you do. If there is an issue, if men's rights are your thing, whether it's Pearl or the Tate or the Fresh and Fit of the world or all the men and whoever wants to do that, you're supposed to organize and you're supposed to make your voice be heard and lobby these politicians to make changes in your behalf. We've seen it with vaccine anti-vaxxers in New Jersey back in
Careful with TikTok.
2019. This is legislation, but back in 2019, New Jersey was going to go away with exemptions for medical, I believe, and religion for vaccines. It's a blue state. You could have almost guaranteed that it was going to pass. It didn't pass. Why didn't it pass? Because medical freedom advocates decided to lobby and put their forces together and make sure that that bill was no more. And they got it done. So if your issue is men's rights and you want men to be heard so bad, I promise you, not a single politician, and we're actually politically involved, not just like commentators, like most of these people. No one is pressing on these issues. It doesn't mean that they're not legitimate.
No,
It
no one
doesn't
cares.
mean-
And I'll tell you the following too. No one's going to touch these issues until there is a force behind it. Because let me just explain this to people like Pearl that don't understand anything about how politics works. Winning elections takes money. You
Right.
need politicians to
organizing.
win elections in order for them to pass legislation that serves your purpose. In order for them to have any desire to serve your purpose, you're going to have to convince them that you are more valuable than, say, the female advocacy groups, the pro-life groups, the Christian groups, because the red pill doesn't believe in marriage, doesn't believe in a lot of things, right? So as a result of that, you're going to have to prove that you are the more valuable group or demographic to cater to once I get involved.
Right.
So until you're not opening up a political, a PAC, if you're not lobbying, if you don't have a nonprofit, if you don't have elected officials whose campaigns you're helping with funds, with your time, with your influence, if you're not speaking to politicians, then guess what? They have no reason why to listen to you, because you also have to understand that the RP ideology is a very divisive one, and that they're not in the
Very
business
divisive.
of dividing their vote. And right now, when you've got organizations that are supporting family values and marriage and pro-life, that doesn't really coincide with the red pill. And if the red pill is going to make any real waves in government, which honestly I hope that they do. I know that Pearl tells men not to vote, but it's actually because she doesn't understand politics. Because if she did understand politics, she would encourage men to actually become more civically involved in their local state systems. The president doesn't decide how it is the courts operate. You'd have to work in your local communities in order to make that happen.
Yeah, but also let's look at where we are today as a country. It's been 4 years of Joe Biden. Our country is in shambles. We have an open border today. More criminal illegal aliens. We're basically stampeding border patrol. We have 2 wars going on. We have some of the highest inflations that we've ever seen. People can't afford groceries. People can't afford gas. There's homeless people. I've literally watched people on TikTok filming from their cars talking about how they've been homeless for a whole year,
Mhm.
and they go to their gym to shower and brush their teeth, and then just spend the rest of the day in their car traveling around the city. So you have so many issues when you ask the average voter, and this is why I bumped heads with a lot of conservative influencers before when they start talking about, I'm not voting for Trump because of the vaccine or because he did this or because he did that. And I say, how is this relevant to the average person? The average person is going to answer that they mostly care about 2 things, the economy and immigration. Today, I saw a clip from CNN. What was CNN talking about? What is most important for Latino voters? Because most Latino voters have confidence in Donald Trump than Biden. And pretty much now, Donald Trump could take 50% of the Latino vote that used to vote for Democrats. That's how bad it is for them. And what was the number one thing that Latinos who are immigrants, or at least born the second generation, third generation from immigrant parents, they're saying that one of their number one pressing issues is immigration and border security. So when you have all these things, how could you say that those things are not also male issues, right? The economy,
Mhm.
being able to afford gas, being able to afford
The
meat,
looming threat of World War
the
III.
World War III. There's so many more things that are important than just people saying, I'm not going to vote because I may get screwed over in a divorce. And
I don't want to pay alimony,
I don't want to pay
despite
alimony.
only less than 15% of all
You know
marriages
what I
ending
mean?
in alimony
So,
payments.
that type of stuff is just the other comment that she made, which I obviously I don't respond on Twitter. I just have it muted, but a lot of times people screenshot her stuff and it lands on my feed. And one of the screenshots that I saw this week was her saying that women should get out of education because women ruin education. There's all these kids that have Marxist beliefs and LGBT and the gender stuff and what we know. And it's funny because which is the gender has pushed the most against the LGBT indoctrination of our kids with organizations like Moms for Liberty, Moms for America, people like
Mhm.
herself. It's actually been women. Women have been the ones that have organized against the education system. People, even Shia from Lips of TikTok has helped out in
Mhm.
that department. What's the other account? You could even say Gays Against Groomers. So it's really women, the ones that have been carrying the weight of their shoulders and
torch,
and
right.
the torch with this education stuff. But like somebody mentioned here, I think it was Jessica, a lot of what she has to say is for clicks, is for bait,
Yeah.
is a show. And you know how we know it's a show? Last night I actually ran into a TikTok, and I don't think that she understands that if she gets into the political arena, it's not going to be just people calling her names and calling her ugly or calling her this or saying that she's a man.
Nope.
It's going to be people actually doing operative work. They're going to come after her family. It's going to get really nasty.
They're
Like,
going to come after her network. They're going to come after everything.
So last night, as I'm doing some as I'm actually scrolling through TikTok, I wasn't trying to think of Pearl Davis at 2 a.m., but a video pops up on my feed. Alas, a video pops up on my feed. And it's a girl talking about Pearl's family. And she had a series of videos, and I started watching them. And I come to follow and find out and see who her mom is, who's a pretty like legitimate lady, cool lady, business lady,
Mhm.
and also her sister. And I'm sending these videos to Bella, and I said, first of all, her mom is a boss babe, right?
Yeah.
Her mom is like
She's
her
like,
mom
who says women can have it all?
her mom is like the boss babe, like telling you that like you can have it all, that you can be a multimillionaire with a multi-million-dollar business, that you can have a large family, that you
Mhm.
can have multiple houses, that you can live the American dream, which is what most people like to hear. Not criticizing, not saying anything bad about her mom. You go see her mom is posting pictures in a bikini for an older lady, nothing wrong. I personally don't care. I'm not that type of prude person, and she's not being sexual. She's just, But all the things that Pro goes on to Twitter to shit on women who wear bikinis or wear bathing suits, to shit on women who apparently are boss babes, you know, her family partakes in all that stuff. She says women shouldn't attend college. Well, her sister goes to college and she's in a sorority. She says that women shouldn't, she doesn't trust women that does her makeup. Well, her sister has pretty much a lot of makeup and fillers too, from what we saw. So I say that not to come after her family or anything, but to say that I do think it's a grift, because then everything that you say, your family does. The women in your family partake in this culture that you hate so much.
But her argument
know?
is going to be that she never claimed to be those things. Her argument is that most women are not worthy of those things, herself included. I mean, she's given up on the idea that anybody's ever going to marry her because she understands that she's like ran through a career woman, can't cook, can't clean. She's not the best of attractive. She's hitting 30 years old. She's past her prime. All of the series of things that she talks about other people. So her argument to that is going to be like, yeah, that's my point, that today's modern women are not worthy of these things, and this is why.
Well, no, that's not what I'm saying though. What do you mean worthy of what? Going to college and getting fillers like her sister?
No, worthy of literally anything. Well, she thinks that women are unworthy when they go to college, when they wear filters, when they wear makeup.
Her sister is unworthy.
Right, but that's the point that I'm trying to make to you. Yes, she agrees that the sister is unworthy, that the mom is unworthy, that she is unworthy, because she says that modern women are unworthy in general. So her response to that would be, I never claimed that my sister was an exception or that my family was an exception, because she's not even an exception herself.
Right.
It's why she says that she doesn't feel like she's worthy enough of getting married, that nobody should marry her because she isn't a virgin and she's not, 16 or whatever it is, age of consent that they think it should be. And it's just, to me, and it's what ironic, which is what I pointed out to you today, is that she's clearly has all of these controversial opinions. We know that that's Pearl. That's how she's grown a following. But I do think that it's interesting that she spent so much time trying to get onto the Daily Wire. And she waited until she was on with Knowles, who has a rather large following, to drop the bomb that she doesn't think that people should vote. And we had a tweet, can't pull it up, but basically in the tweet is one of Pearl Sims responding and tagging Donald Trump and being like, yeah, Donald Trump, I didn't vote for you because you endorsed Carrie Lake in Arizona and she's a woman and women are bad. Meh. And
no, I'm very mad at you. I
I'm
didn't vote in the Arizona in the primaries, and I was so
bro,
pissed this
you
morning.
guys are this is what the ultimate psyop is, which is that if you guys actually do research, people that share this like misogynistic ideology actually consider Trump to be a feminist, because Trump has elevated so many women throughout his entire career, and these people don't agree with that. So when you think that women shouldn't be put in a position of power, that the men that put him there are all simps, then what are you actually saying about Donald Trump? When you're saying that any woman that poses nude or whatever it is, what are you saying about Melania? What are you saying about their marriage? What are you saying about the age gap? What are you saying about all of those things? In reality, she's taking hits at Trump without mentioning his name, while wearing a red hat and saying, what do you mean? I'm a Trump supporter. And this has been ongoing for a while, but I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked to see that she finally said,
don't vote.
The quiet part out loud during months before the midterm elections.
And honestly, we're still at the point, and we'll never be sure of this because you will never have proof of any of them. You may disagree or not agree, but we're just not sure if this is a psyop. If certain individuals are planted and propped up by the algorithm, correct, and by these social media companies to go viral and get clout and get millions of followers and be able to disrupt the election. Because we saw this in 2020. We saw it with the black squares. It was a complete psyop. You got reprimanded if you didn't post a black square and sim for BLM and George Floyd. And, then the 2020 summer of love, if you actually complain about crime and BLM destroying cities and businesses and killing people, then you were the bad person.
Yeah.
You could even lose your job. But here we are, and so I think we're going to see more of this. I think I don't expect this from the men, because here's the thing. It's a very feminine thing to be a one issue voter.
Yeah.
It's a very feminist thing to be like, I'm only voting for Joe Biden because of the abortion issue. Or I'm not voting Trump because he said vaccines are good and saving people. So trying to convince the men or anybody to be a single issue voter, it's an emotional voting record or an emotional response. There's nothing masculine about not wanting to support Trump in 2024, unless you're super black to him or you hate him or whatever, you just opt out of the system completely, simply because you've never organized to have these men rights be front and center of politicians. Because the president, despite what you may think, oh, we should repeal the 19th Amendment. Well, that's not going to happen. We're not going to go back to slavery times either. We're not going to repeal the 14th Amendment or the 19th Amendment.
Yeah.
It's nowhere near a docket in the Supreme Court. There's no legislation. There's no movement. There's nothing.
You don't
It's
even have
just
a
online-
legislator running a campaign on it.
It's just online trolls trying to get attention. So no, politicians are not going to ignore women and say fuck women because you think with your following that they're going to have to do that. It's just that simple.
That's not going to happen.
So.
And talking about conspiracy theories coming through, let's move on to our last topic of the day, which is this story that has been developing out of Nickelodeon.
So bad, man. So bad.
So the creator and producer of many shows, Dan Schneider, for all of our 80s and 90s babies, you remember shows like She's All That and The Amanda Bynes Show and iCarly and Zoe 101, all of these Nickelodeon shows that have now come out were filled with inappropriateness, pedophiles that were on these shows and around children all the time. And here's the thing, this is Dan Schneider, there is a documentary, Quiet on the Set, that is making waves right now. And the reason why it's making waves is because it's openly talking about a conspiracy theory that for a very long time, people like us were called crazy for even discussing it, which is that Hollywood is filled with pedophiles. And that as a result, it's why you see that a lot of these young actresses and actors end up coming out all screwed up from their careers and end up having drug habits by the time that they're 18 and going to rehab by the time that they're 19 or straight up looking like poor Amanda Bynes, for those of you that have not seen what's happened to that poor girl. And it hits me so personal because Amanda Bynes was like the epitome for me because she was like so funny. And I always wanted to be the funny girl when I was growing up. And she's the idea is somebody found an old Twitter account from Amanda Bynes where she basically discusses how she was SA'd by this producer and how she was actually forced by the network to terminate a pregnancy at the age of 13 from this SA. Great documentary that really exposed this reality. And here's the thing. This Dan Snyder stuff is not new. This isn't a secret. This is stuff that people have been talking about for several years now. And the reality is that it's something that has gone unnoticed for a very long time. Dan Snyder's not in jail and he's probably never going to be. Do you remember?
I saw, what I was looking right now was when I was getting ready, I was watching, since I couldn't find the entire thing, I was watching clips on TikTok, like a minute and a half long clips that just went part one, part two, part one. And I got to, I was looking at Drake, you know, that actor Drake. And he was saying that they were like super inappropriate. And like, despite the fact that he would like tell producers, like actually his dad complained to somebody and said, I don't want my kid around this man anymore. Because I guess he would go and like fix his little boxer briefs or something. It was just like in a very creepy way. And despite the father complaining and the kid being uncomfortable, they kept continuing to put this kid with this man. And at one point, the worst part of it was that the dad was accused of being a homophobe because they said, well, he's gay. Not Schneider, but the other dude. Yeah. So he's like, he's gay.
The pickles guy.
Right. So he's like, so why? It's like, no, you're paranoid. You're just a homophobe. You don't want your kid to be around this guy, not because you care about your kid, but because you're a homophobe. Okay. And so the guy was just saying like how uncomfortable it was, but I wasn't able to get past that little like
that one piece.
Yeah, that one.
They do talk like a little about like they interview parents that were there.
Alex Jones broke this story years ago.
Years ago. This was content that we've been sharing for years now. And it's just so crazy because you know what always sticks with me? Do you guys remember a couple of years ago, Bella Thorne did an interview and she was talking about how she had been essayed and how they had ruined her life. And that's why she had gotten hooked on drugs. And I remember that story like making waves. This must have been like 2019, 2018. She did this interview and everyone's like, oh, the sad story of Bella Thorne and, you know, and how she was essayed and how they took her childhood. No one asked who. No one asked who. The same thing with the Feldmans. I guess that they asked Corey later on who. But these kids that have, no one's ever asked Drew Barrymore who. These are all kid actors that have openly spoken about their SA, about how they were victimized, have given details about how it affected their life, how they were around grown-ups that gave them drugs, that put them into
Apparently it happened
like,
to Justin Bieber too with Diddy. Right?
Justin Bieber, correct. But at least with that, we know who. But so many times these people give these testimonies, these young kids, you know, they give these testimonies of like, oh, I experienced horrible things and there's sick people here and there's sick people that, and they gave me drugs and they did this. But nobody ever follows up with who.
Yeah.
Who was the person that did that? Who was the person that opened up that opened up these doors for you? And I think that with Dan Snyder, it's just, he was around so many kids and he was just an integral part of so much of our childhood. Now there's also rumors online, and there has been rumors online for years that Dan Snyder actually fathered a teenage Jamie Lynn Spears, this kid, and that until this day, that's an alleged secret that's kept, that Jamie Lynn Spears's child is actually Dan Snyder's.
There is this tweet that we didn't post up, but I think I sent it to you, and
But
it's basically,
if you pick it up here, like put it onto and then just share the screen so you can pull it up.
so I just put like what?
Like, go to
Joe
that
Vintage,
page. Go to
Twitter,
go to Twitter, and then go to that particular
Amanda.
tweet.
Let's see. Not now. But it's just basically talking about, I guess this girl, when did she tweet this out? This girl tweeted out like a picture of, oh, here it is. I think, yeah, hold on. I got it. Here we go. Share screen and
Yeah.
share. Amanda Bynes altering her appearance so she can appear as unattractive as possible to men after being traumatized and sexualized as a child star is my Roman Empire for today. My heart is breaking for her. And by the way, Amanda Bynes, she's actually on TikTok. She talks to us or her audience every single day, and it's quite traumatizing. I just kind of scroll past it.
It's sad. It's like
so
watching
sad.
Britney too.
But it is very true, and it actually happens with I think we talked about this a few episodes ago, when young girls, there was a study conducted very recently on trans teens and trans people, period. And what they realized is that trans men, or so women that are transitioning to men, they tend to do it in their teenage years. So women in their teenage years, as they're going through puberty, their boobs are growing, men are looking at them, whatever it is, they basically don't want that attention.
Yeah.
And they become just weird, and they start wearing the flat chesting, I forgot what it's called, and changing their appearance to just be as unattractive as possible to young men. Whereas men, trans women, so men who go to transition to women, they do it later on in their years. And what the people were explaining was that it's because it's more of a fetish, versus for women, it's just they're uncomfortable with their bodies in their teenage years and they just don't want to go through puberty. Robert Lee, I'm sorry, I just saw you right here. And he says, Pro Davies is interesting. She kind of crapped on Catholic faith, but her understanding of it is very limited. She can't justify her points. I think it was really gross how after the Michael Knowles interview, she said during the Michael Knowles interview, I think, that
no, it wasn't Michael Knowles. It was with the other Daily Wire guy that she did.
Andrew Clavin.
It was with Andrew Clavin.
She said that she was considering leaving Catholicism because she couldn't stand that they revered and Virgin Mary. that it was a feminist religion and that they were putting a woman on a pedestal, and that just wasn't ideal or whatever, or she just didn't agree with that. Robert E. Lee again. People crapped on the sign of freedom, and now we're seeing a lot of stuff in the movie is true. I mean, it's happening right now in Medellin, which is that the right-wing mayor, I think we talked about it last year, every single state in Colombia went red, fully red. So they went conservative. There's only one state in Colombia that's like blue. And the mayor of Medellin basically said no more Airbnbs because there are so many of these passport bros and men that are going to Colombia to take advantage of sex tourism with children. So whenever you hear men say that, it's just that they want to find a trad virgin wife. A lot of it is keyword for children. And so Medellin is going away with short-term rentals and Airbnb because of that situation. Specifically because of the children's situation.
So I pulled up the name, the pedo actor on Nickelodeon. His name was Brian Peck. Brian Peck. And it's exposed on this documentary, I think it was the adventures of like Zach and Cody or something like that. Anyways, point of the matter, it's exposed how
what about the scene in the tub?
Let me actually pull these up
so
because
weird.
I found this compilation of videos and it was all on what's her name?
But just look at the time because we've been going.
Yeah.
Like,
what's this girl's name?
Who?
The singer.
Amanda Bynes?
No, not Amanda Bynes. Let me add this right here. I want to play this for you guys.
See? That could never
Ariana
happen
Grande.
because your uvula is that
It's her.
swingy thing in the back of your throat right here. So there's no way you could get it stuck between a hamster's toes. Sentence number 3. I'm soaking wet! Quick, somebody bring me the ocean! No one would ever say that. Why? Because if you were soaking wet and you were upset about it, the last thing you'd want is for somebody to bring you the ocean. Because the ocean is even more wet than even the wettest person in the world. Have you ever tried to get your whole big toe in your mouth? Check this out.
Because he had a foot fetish.
Sometimes I wonder if you can get juice from a potato.
This is disgusting.
Is it possible for a teenage girl to drink water upside down? I'm thirsty.
Oh shit! I've never seen this.
It's not possible.
That's crazy.
This has been me in a video.
What role was she? What is this?
This is from, I think, iCarly.
On, give up the juice.
That was just to give you guys a taste of some of these.
Dude, I had never seen that before.
When
ever.
it's really it's very disturbing
that's
stuff.
So bizarre.
It's
like how
and it was like a constant thing. It's like you watch the episode and it was
What
like a
the
constant innuendo and a constant like adults that were supposed jokes that were supposed to be for adults but around children. And I just think it's really crazy because we've actually known about this for a very long time. And child actors have been silenced about speaking out on this and have had their careers held over their head. And it's Victorious. That was the name of the show, Victorious.
Dude, I didn't even know Ariana Grande was part of this.
That's
Disney
where she got
people.
her start.
That's where she got her start.
That's where she got her start.
I thought she was just a singer.
With
the whole
Snyder,
time.
because what happened with Snyder is that after he gets exposed
This whole
in
time I thought she was a
Nickelodeon,
singer.
they move him over to Disney, and Disney, they know that these charges have already, these complaints have
Schneider.
already been made about him. And
Schneider sounds like a very German name.
yes.
Last name.
On that note, guys. Guys, if you have not followed us, please follow us. Like this before you leave. Like our channel. Help us grow. Remember, no Illuminati and no lizard people. Just me and Linda. For those of you on TikTok that are confused by the low production value, it's because we're on YouTube. But follow us here on TikTok. We're trying to grow our brand so that we can do more lives and do more out of TikTok. But we'll be doing more lives on TikTok soon. But guys, please support our work with a like, share, and thank you so much for
you.
being here with
And
us.
follow us also on Twitter.
Oh,
at
yes.
Mostly Peaceful Latinas. You guys know what's up. I'm gonna put it right here. That's us on X and also on TikTok, where I just slay all day on X, and it's fun sometimes.
She slays dragons all
I
day.
slay dragons all day, and you know how I do. So follow us there. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. This was a great show, despite the fact that we had technical difficulties. We couldn't use Instagram. And yeah, see you next week.
Bye, guys.